Candan bağlaydı Hak Resul'e Bilal-i Habeşi garibi bir köle. Öyküsü dolaşır dillerden dile. Bilal-i Habeşi o büyük insan. Öyküsü dolaşır dillerden dile. Bilal-i Habeşi o büyük insan. Yatırdılar onu kızgın kumlara. Vücudunu boyadılar kanlara. Canım kurban Bilal gibi canlara.
Today we're going to briefly discuss a man by the name of Bilal Habesi. Bilal Habesi is a very important figure in the Muslim faith, the Muslim religion. And his story is important because part of the challenge that the Eurocentrists, who wishes to usurp clearly black African cultures, stories, and legacies and insert his Eurocentric fantasy and replace the truth with his Eurocentric fantasy, part of the problem he has is overcoming the fact that there is a plethora of insurmountable, overwhelming evidence which totally contradicts any notion he conjures up, which is never, ever based in truth or fact. It is always conjecture and fantasy at best. Bilal Habesi. We're going to discuss him briefly. It is undeniable that Bilal Habesi is considered the first muezzin in the Muslim faith. Now let's look at that word. What is a muezzin? A muezzin is the chosen person at a mosque who leads and recites the call to prayer for every event of prayer and worship in the mosque. The muezzin also has a very high priority in every mosque because he is the one who will call and indicate of a prayer that will be held in the mosque. He is also an important rule in every mosque because a mosque will rely upon him of the prayer schedules that will be held, such as Salat. Historically, a muezzin around the world would recite the adhan or call to prayer by the minaret so people around the mosque could hear him. Now, mosques often have loudspeakers mounted on the top of the minaret, and the muezzin will use a microphone, allowing the call to prayer to be heard at great distances without climbing the minaret. Okay? The institution of the muezzin has existed since the time of Muhammad. The first muezzin was Bilal ibn Rabah, who walked the streets to call the believers to come to prayer. Although many of the customs associated with the muezzin remained undecided at the time of Muhammad's death, including which direction one should choose for the calling, where it should be formed, and the use of trumpets, flags, or lamps. All these elements are the muezzin's role during the adhan. Now, before we go further, you may question, why am I doing this? Why is this important? Because it goes back to the origin of the beginning of the Moorish faith, and more importantly, the Moorish expansion that was, or the Muslim expansion, which was accomplished and achieved largely through the Moors, and it goes against any notion that the Eurocentrists may try to come up with that the Moors were somehow Caucasian. It's utterly ridiculous, and you're going to see that once we go into this a little bit. Again, let's talk about Bilal Habesi. Also, if you want, his full name would be Bilal ibn Rabah al-Habesi. He is most commonly known as Bilal Habesi. That's how he's most commonly known, Bilal Habesi. That's him, a black man. Now let's talk about him a little bit and who he was. He was born in 580, died in 640. Remember, the Moors first invaded Andalusia, which we now call Spain, around the 7th century. So this would be before the death of the men we are discussing. He was an African of Ethiopian heritage. He was a companion of the Islamic prophet Muhammad, born in Mecca, and he is considered as the first muezzin. He was chosen by the prophet himself. He was among the emancipated slaves freed by the Abu Bakr and was known for his beautiful voice with which he called people to their prayers. His name also came to be known as Bilal ibn Riyad or Ibn Ribat, and he is sometimes known as Bilal al-Habesi or Bilal, the one from Habasha, which is today's Ethiopia. Okay. He died sometime between 638 to 642 when he was over 60 years old. He was an emancipated slave of key importance in Islam. He is said to have been one of the most trusted and loyal companions of Muhammad. His respected stature during the birth of Islam is often cited by Muslims as evidence of the importance of pluralism and racial equality in the foundations of the religion. Now, when we look at history prior to the Moorish conquest, and what we're trying to establish here is the clear homogeny between the black Africans and those who would be known as Arabs, even prior to the Moorish invasions. Now, I'm going to show on numerous videos irrefutable evidence that what most people with intelligence, common sense already know, that they were largely a black empire. That those who were known as Moors were predominantly the black Moorish warriors. That the term Moor was used exclusively at several points in history for black African people. That's why we have one of the most famous Moors in Europe, which is Saint Maurice. And Saint Maurice, though he is known as a Moor historically, was not a Muslim. In fact, he was a Christian, and he fought for the Christians against the Moors, but he is referred to as a Moor as well. As words will do over time, the etymology of the word has changed and evolved to include other people other than black people or black Africans and other than black Muslims or Muslims in general. But it never was a term used to describe white people. I mean, I could make a 2-hour video just on that alone. That is ludicrous. It's ridiculous. It's like calling white people black. Yes, the term did evolve to mean other than black. And it had to do more with faith and religion. But originally, when they invaded, they were referred to as what they saw them as, and it had nothing to do with their religion, had everything to do with their color of skin, and they were referred to as the Moors because they were black. Okay. Let's see. Living with Muhammad. According to Ibn Ishaq, Abdullah ibn Zayed You know what? I'm not even going to try to pronounce all that. He went to Muhammad with his story when he saw Adhan in his dream. Muhammad, approving the method for calling to prayers, told him to ask an Ethiopian named Bilal, who had a marvelous voice, to call the Muslims to prayer, which is referred to as the Adhan. He told the story in this translation. Let's see. Though slightly different versions of the story exist, all agree that Islam's first muezzin was Bilal. Everyone is in agreement with that. There's no controversy there. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا Bilal's finest hour came in January 630 on an occasion regarded as one of the most hallowed moments in Islamic history. After the Muslim forces had captured Mecca, Muhammad's muezzin ascended to the top of the Kaaba to call the believers to prayer. The first time the call to prayer was heard within Islam's holiest city. However, this was never proven, and many dispute the fact that it would be against the faith to actually have climbed the Kaaba, no matter how big the conquest. Though there are some disagreements concerning the hard facts of Bilal's life and death, his importance on a number of levels is incontestable.